Hey everyone, I'm Kate from Project Patterns, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how we can fix those pesky gaping necklines. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a professional pattern cutter working in London, and I started Project Patterns as a place to share my love and enthusiasm pattern cutting with all of you. You can find my online courses on my website, and you can find me on Instagram at Project Patterns. But back to those pesky gaping necklines. We've all been there, haven't we? That you make a beautiful garment, maybe you've bought a pattern or you've made a pattern that you drafted a little while ago, and unfortunately you now have a gaping neckline. You have all this excess fabric around here, it just doesn't sit close to the body. Fortunately, there is a really easy fix for this. You do have to alter the pattern. Of course you can alter the garment as well, but if you want to fix the pattern, this is how we're going to do it. So the example here is a scooped round neck. And as you can see, we have all of this gaping, all this space between our fabric and our body. Now, a lot of people automatically want to go to the center front and just start pinning wedges down here. It's not the right way to do it. What we want to do is pin little temporary darts going to our bust point and then rotate those into our existing darts. And if you don't have darts, you have a seam, you can still do the same thing. Just pin your excess towards your bust point. Really, really important. So let's quickly pin this in. I'm going to pin it evenly, so 2 darts, 1 going to each bust point. Okay, so here are our 2 temporary darts pinned in, and you can see that neckline is sitting much more snugly against the neck. Now the next step we want to do is to take this off the stand, measure those darts, and swing them into our existing darts. These temporary darts are called contour darts. And on a side note, if you want to learn more about contour darts, I have a whole online course focusing on how to draft necklines and use those contouring darts to your advantage. So once I unpin my front bodice from my stand, this is what it looks like. I've got my 2 little contour temporary darts in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin these and measure exactly how much I've pinned out. So using a felt tip marker, I'm just going to draw where I've pinned it. I'm doing both just to check that they're even, but I'm only going to amend 1/2 because it's symmetrical. Okay, so that means that this dart is basically going to look like this. And we'll mirror that on the other side. So if we quickly measure that, I have 1 centimetre there and 1 centimetre there. Perfect. And this dart starts from my center front 2.8 centimeters away from my center front. Then I'm going to grab my pattern and I'm going to mark that directly onto my pattern. So measuring 2.8 centimeters along my neckline, making a mark, and then measuring another centimeter, making another mark. It's super important that we measure along this inner line here because this is our stitch line. This is what this line is here. I cut this net with no seam allowance on. The outer line here is our cut line, and especially on curves, they are different measurements. So from those 2 marks, then I'm going to draw in my dart going to my bust point. Very important, we always draw this to our bust point. And then we have a temporary dart. All we're going to do is rotate this dart into our waist dart down here. To do that, I'm going to extend my waist dart up to my bust point because we always want to rotate from our bust point. Then all I'm going to do is cut along one side here and one side here, leaving a little hinge at the middle there. And then I'm simply going to rotate that closed. And you can see our waist dart gets a lot bigger. And then we're just going to grab a little bit of glue so that we can stick this down. And of course, if you're using tape, that's fine too. And then here as well, we want to fill in our dart underlay. So just to make life clear, I'm going to cut away this dart underlay here. We're going to put some fresh paper in underneath. And then the last thing we want to do is true our neckline, because here you can see it comes to a corner, which we definitely do not want. So what we want to do is make this a little bit curvier here. And of course you would normally do this in pencil, and if you're doing full scale, use your pattern ruler, but here in half scale it gets a little tricky with the pattern ruler, so I'm going to do this by eye. I'm just going to do it with a dashed line first, and of course if you're using pencil you can then go and rub that out if it's not right, but that does look quite nice to me. So let's draw that in, and then we'll just mark our seam allowance on there, and then trim off that excess on there. Lovely. One last thing to do is just step this dart back slightly and do our dart underlay. And there she is, our new dart. Now, of course, this dart does get a little big, but there are things you can do to counteract this or make it a little bit less pokey when you have it on the body. But hopefully your neckline should now fit nice and close to the body. You should have no gaping in there. It's really as simple as that. Now you want to take your new pattern, recut it and twirl it to double check that you've done the right amendment and taken the right amount out. Then you can cut it in your final fabric, and just like magic, you've got a beautiful new garment that fits perfectly. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of me or find my online courses, you can find that on my website, www.project-patterns.co.uk. You can also find me on Instagram at Project Patterns, where I release a whole load of free content just for you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.